I'm Dylan Noble with BeatCast TV, and I'm here with Mudhoney. How are you guys?
We're good.
Well,
Yeah, doing pretty good.
So this year you're celebrating your 21st anniversary as a band.
It's actually, we're closer to 22 right now.
Yeah.
January 1st is our official birthday. So.
Oh, okay. Well, when you started out and as your careers progressed, did you ever think you'd make it this far?
When we started out, we never thought we'd make it more than like 3 years.
First off, we still haven't made it yet.
No,
in the grand sense.
No, he's just talking time. He's just talking time.
Time, not like
No, God no.
The depressing part of the interview will be later.
The deal I made with my folks, because I dropped out of college again to move back to town and do a band with Mark, was I promised I'd go back to school in 2 years. So we really honestly figured we'd put out a single.
Yeah.
And like, because we knew 2 different labels that would probably put out 7-inchers of us, and that's all we've really. That's the only ambition we had. So.
Although we did write more than 2 songs.
We did. Well, we had to have more than that for a set.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Basically, we wrote 2 songs. Everything else was an afterthought.
Well, obviously when you released March to Fuzz in 2000 and Matt Lukin left the band, there's a lot of speculation that you guys were going to split up. I mean, obviously this is after writing more than 2 songs.
It's a bad sign when a band puts out a best of, huh?
Yeah. Was that ever really on the cards, you guys splitting up, or?
We chose not to talk about it for a little while. Actually, we just kind of like put it on the shelf for a bit, you know, to just see how we felt about it in a little while. Me and Mark instantly then did another Monkey Wrench record instead. We just kind of occupied ourselves doing that and pondered the future. You know, like we still wanted to play with Dan, but we weren't sure we wanted to keep calling it Mudhoney or not, or how Dan felt about it either. And but then when we started playing together again, it seemed silly to change the name.
After like, you know,
we shot ourselves in the feet enough without doing something without so that seemed like just kind of stupid. So
the band formerly known as
yeah, like, where do you go with that? You know,
I suppose like, after so long as well, I guess it's always good to have a period of time where you can kind of reflect on what you're doing and you can take stock of that and everything.
And doing the best of thing kind of fell into our lap at the time too, because Sub Pop was going to do one anyway, right? Or Sub Pop was
going to do one of just like the Sub Pop, the 3 Sub Pop records, and we're like, well, there's Super Fuzz, which is 6 songs, and then 2 short albums. Like you can almost fit everything on one CD.
Yeah.
You know, so we're like, maybe we should. They had a deal with Warner Brothers, so that maybe we should bring that stuff in, and they were able to work that out with the legal department. So.
And we'd wanted to do a rarities and B-sides kind of collection for a long time anyway, so it just kind of came together at the same time that, you know.
And a couple weird things. Then after that, a couple weird things happened. Like we got asked to put together a song for an internet compilation called Beyond Cyberpunk.
Do you remember the internet?
Remember the .com boom? You know, there was a stupid money being thrown around. We offered $10,000 for a song, and we're like, I think we can do that.
So I guess guys said, well, I'll just play bass on it, you know, too, and you know, work on it like that.
And somehow Wayne Kramer from the MC5 was like the executive producer of this thing, and he came up and he wanted to produce the song, and they came to our rehearsal and saw the bass just sort of sitting there, and he's like, do you mind if I play bass? And we're like,
thankfully, because
please do.
I wouldn't have done anything nearly as cool as he did on the song. So.
And then also we got offered a tour of Brazil, and we asked Guy to do it, and he couldn't do it because he was neck deep in nursing school.
We had a short list of 2 friends that knew how to play bass that we wanted to, you know, see. That was it. That was the only people we could ever even imagine, you know, in with us. So.
Yeah, Guy and I had been playing for a number of years before that in the band called
we've
Blood
known
Loss.
Guy almost since the beginning, really.
Yeah, we've known Guy since 1989, since the first time he came over with Lubricated Goat to Seattle.
Right, and you guys started coming to Australia
and then
around
we'd
the
hang
same
out.
time.
Yeah, whenever we would go to Australia, we'd totally hang out and stuff. So, you know, a kinship was formed early on.
Yeah.
We didn't just get him from the local music
the wanted ads.
Bass player.
Bass player wanted.
Pull yourself together.
celebrate the 21st anniversary, I mean, you did talk about doing that sort of best of where you fit everything on one CD, but you've gone for remastered versions of the first 3 records. I noticed this is all on coloured vinyl with a digital download code.
Awesome, huh?
I mean, having been around for the last few decades, you've seen the music industry change. Is this vinyl download release a reflection of the consumer's desire for a physical product?
I think so.
While still embracing the digital age, or is there just something?
I think it's the best of all worlds. Really,
I think people want...
CDs suck. I mean, they sucked since the beginning. You know, the packaging is small. You know, they're records. I guess so much cooler, and everyone's got their downloadable things except me. Apparently.
Yeah, it's more portable. You can put it in your iPod. You have more options there than you do with your like CD Walkman, and then like to actually have the packaging and the record.
Artwork always looks so much better on vinyl as well.
I mean, like the albums shrunk down to CD size that were designed as albums just don't work. They're not supposed to be that small. The elements don't work.
And I think, well, Steve probably knows best because he deals with that a lot more, but there's a renaissance in like vinyl and using record players again to listen to music.
There's a renaissance, like, what I saw? Like, I know Portland's kind of a weird town, but I saw a hipster cruise by the other day on her one-speed bicycle, of course, but she had a cassette Walkman, like one of the first Walkman on her belt. It's like, excellent.
That's like the 8-track.
The ultimate, cassette culture, thing. She's probably got the only one in town,
The early 90s 8-track revival that happened for a while.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that kind of weird little backlash to new developments where people go back to using the old things. I think, like you say, the vinyl renaissance is kind of, people are doing downloads as well.
Yeah, it's
People
really
want vinyl.
It's the best of both things.
Yeah.
You got your digitized version and you got your really cool artifact.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant because the first time I'd ever heard of it was when they released the Live in Mexico City thing, and it's a perfect solution to the problem of,
especially for old fogies like us too.
And we tried to do that earlier with Under a Billion Suns.
Yeah.
But Sub Pop didn't have the technology yet, so we just shoved a CD in there.
In the vinyl.
Well, I mean, like you say, at the moment the industry's struggling to deal with sort of controlling illegal downloads and things like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's not really any different to copying CDs or taping things. And obviously, you'll remember sort of the home taping is killing music campaigns and things like that.
Anything that makes the record industry and music industry nervous, I think it's a great thing for music generally. Because it means they're losing some kind of power over the whole structure. I think it's great.
Yeah, home taping, that took a lot more effort than like downloading something.
Yeah.
And it took a lot longer. You could make a tape for a friend, but you had to play the record all the way through. So it's not like
there's a bit of love involved.
Well,
love or a deterrent to
or determination.
What's different now, I think, is like so many people. It's kind of a singles market again, more than an album market at the time, right? Because people are just downloading a song or two of whatever they like.
I don't know what the kids do.
Well, I think that's what the kids are doing, Mark. And
you should know. You have kids.
And so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, really. I think when CDs first came out, the inclination of bands was to jam as much music on a CD as possible, and resulting in a lot of filler. So I think the singles thing. If you look at the history of rock and roll, like the '60s, most of the bands were doing singles. That was a great time for music. So if it makes young bands concentrate everything on one or two songs as their big thing, their big statement, I think it's great. So that doesn't even bother me. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a positive thing, like the sharing element of music. I mean, there's the high-profile acts that have railed against it in the past, who are kind of idiotic for taking that point of view, because they actually started out as bands that were swapped on cassettes all around the world.
Metallica, for example, the tape trading in the
they would have not got anywhere if it wasn't for metalheads mailing tapes from Finland to Australia. That created their culture, and then they come back and they're like, we need all the money.
campaigns differed from when you first started out? I mean, campaign's quite a sort of marketing word, but it's always going to happen when you
We're really not involved in that so much at this point. Mark would be closest because he actually works at Sub Pop, but that's not his department.
And neither is A&R.
So much of the marketing in the early days was fly Everett True to Seattle and have him write a bunch of articles about the Seattle scene. And then just happenstance like that, Warner Brothers, there was a lot of, stupid money being tossed here and there for things, but that's just the major label's way.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to differ between Warner Brothers and...
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I guess the Sub Pop campaign is saying that for our 21st birthday, we've re-released these 3 records.
Yeah.
So that's all I know.
I mean, and then kind of moving on from... in terms of songwriting, you've been doing it for a long time. How has that process changed? Is it still the same as when you started out, or are there more factors to...
It's pretty similar. Really, we write songs as a group for the most part. We don't have a key songwriter in the band.
That might show.
Yeah. So for good or bad, like sometimes we just kind of like bash things out together for the most part. Someone comes in with a riff or two, and we try to piece them together somehow, and then get Mark to write some lyrics for them. And piece them into this puzzle somehow. This last record
that is the bottleneck right there.
Right. That is the bottleneck. And this last record, we tried to enlarge the bottleneck a little bit by him not playing any guitar at practices as we were writing songs, and just trying to get him to start thinking about where the words could be placed in our racket. And it did speed it up a little bit. Definitely.
Yeah,
it did speed things up some for the...
And it made a totally different sounding record as well to the one that had preceded it, because it's one less guitar to begin with, and then...
So I like the idea of slightly trying to change the factors a little bit, because we are definitely old men stuck in our ways at this point.
But that's you've got... sorry. You've got horns on since you've become translucent and stuff like that. Is that kind of something you think about in the practice room, or is that a studio thing where you're kind of in there with a producer and he's kind of gone...
We were thinking about it before. It wasn't a producer-led thing. That was a band-led decision, and we were,
In the case of that particular record, the horns were only brought in, there was 4 if you include Inside Job, 3 different recording sessions with 4 different people, and it was on the 4th one, the final one, that we brought in the horns. For the next record, Under Billion Suns, we actually every song that we had recorded, in our 4-track cassette recorder, I handed off to Craig Flory, who arranged the horn parts for virtually every song. We didn't use them all, but
that would have been.
But it was definitely something we were aiming to do with that record.
Yeah, and to see what he came up with, just hand him the raw goods and see what he imagined horns to be doing on them all. But it was just too much horns. At the end of the day.
I mean, it does sound like something you'd probably do more on a major label record, where you've got a bit more time and things to sort of play about within the studio. And
well, we definitely had more time in the studio years back, but now for the records with the horns, we would just go in for a weekend at a time and concentrate on 3 or 4 songs per session, so we could actually get the bulk of those songs done on each time, because we are kind of strapped for time at this point in our lives.
Everybody is strapped for time.
I think so. It's running out.
Yeah.
It's quite a philosophical thing to say.
If we could put a bottleneck on that, perhaps.
If I could save time in a bottle.
Yeah.
The younger generation don't even know that song.
I wish I didn't.
Lucky to be alive.
you recently curated an ATP Festival. How did you feel when they asked you to do that? And obviously there's some pretty well-respected names that have been connected with it. Where did you even sort of begin when you were doing all the work towards that?
God, we were really excited about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know.
First thing we kind of came up with was like, you know, a wish list of like people that we'd never seen and friends.
Yeah, like we started at extreme wish list kind of things, like you know, John Cale was top of my list at the time, just because I just kind of rediscovered his solo records and stuff. And then worked down like bands that had been broken up for 20 years. Like, who could we get to reform?
Scientists. Can we get the scientists? Flesh eaters.
And there was like some
I
certain bands.
I seem to remember we sort of did it like a football pool in a way. Like you know, everyone ranked stuff from top to bottom, and we had different groups. You know, like an A, B, and C sort of group. And
everything pretty much ended up from like the A group.
Yeah, I mean we didn't have to search for people that we really, you know, loved their music and stuff, you know. I mean, and it just happened that most people that we ended up whittling the list down to could actually do it, or were willing to.
I mean, on that same kind of sort of wish list thing, there's a UK band called The Cribs who've recently taken on the Smiths guitarist Johnny Marr, and they've released an album which is kind of a marked development on their sound. If you could take any musician to join Mudhoney as a full-time member, who would that be?
As the fifth Mudhoney?
That would be hard, huh? Well, if it would be an instrument that we don't always have, it might go something like Sun Ra.
Just to bring him back.
Back from outer space. I don't know.
Mudhoney brought Sun Ra back.
That'd be pretty good though. I'm just thinking like, okay, what?
Yeah, John Coltrane. Yeah. We would be heroes. He'd be like, fuck, what am I doing in this band?
Well, I'd like to add Nick Turner from Hawkwind.
Okay, that's good because that's another instrument that we don't have.
That we don't have.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like we have two guitars. We don't need more guitar.
So it's either keys or horns.
Yeah,
or
that Nick Turner would be a good one. Living,
Living.
It's good that he's.
We could make him wear those leather pants and the.
And play the flute.
Yeah, we could have. Yeah, that would. We would then be making a more psychedelic record.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Well,
bring him in.
On that note, just get it. I'll give it to you later. We're like that. But with him in your band, do you reckon you can last, or without him, do you reckon you can last another 21 years, 22 years?
Not with him in the band.
With him.
He would kill us. Probably within a week. Literally kill us.
Or you'd keel over. Trying the process. Nick Turner suffered a massive heart attack trying to kill the members of this.
Seriously, can we last another 21 years? No.
Yeah, my joints are going.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
It's a pretty definitive answer. Maybe we'll be back here in 22 and
you never know. I mean, but that's good because if someone asked us 21 years ago if we'd be here in 21 years, we would have said
no as well.
No.
Yeah.
So
Mudhoney fans, you can keep that in mind. But have you got any tips for bands who, you know, starting out, how to keep yourself sane
No, but how to keep them together? Maybe
sanity. That's not.
Yeah, that's not our department. But I say the first thing I always say is this, you know, if you're gonna be in a band, be in a band with your friends. You know,
right.
Like first off, don't be searching for the best hot shit guitar player, and you know we need a good drummer.
And also,
I mean we have that.
We're lucky.
We're lucky that all our friends were the best drummers, bass players, singers, and guitar players.
We are very blessed. We are very blessed. But another thing would also be like if you start a band with your friends, keep them as friends. Like don't get into petty like I wrote this song, so I want all the publishing. Right. We split everything 4 ways.
Using the Ramones as a guideline, they made these 4 great first records and then started splitting off the royalties because the first 4 records, everything was split equally amongst the members, right? Then they split that up and immediately stopped talking to each other, making shittier records, and losing Dee Dee.
It is the most important thing. I've been in bands where that was not the case, and it really does
makes
not.
A lot of petty squabbles.
It poisons the well.
It does.
You know?
Try to keep things equal. Communism or something like that.
Yeah.
Utopian
Also,
ideal.
Socialism, perhaps.
Yes, the utopian ideal, socialism.
Sounds good. Well, apart from all the sort of re-releases and things, have you got plans for the future next year or two?
We're working on writing new songs, not at this moment, but in between our little trips.
We're playing Edmonton and Calgary in January.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting.
That'll be very cold.
That's in the state of Alberta in Canada. So it'll be frozen.
And I think we're playing with the Raw Power Stooges in New York in September.
Which will be another ATP event.
Awesome.
And those are our future plans that we have on the books right now.
Right.
And
a show in November.
Oh yeah, and a show in
And to
November.
finish this tour.
Yes. And we're coming back over here in December.
December.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
ATP.
For the
ATP at Minehead. So that's all the plans.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much.
That little arthroscopic
Chat.
surgery. Leg, knee.
Well, thank you very much for that. I enjoyed that.
Excellent.
You did too.
Yep.
And I've been Dylan Ogle with BeatCast TV, and that was Mudhoney.
Thank you.